Hello there and welcome to today's Pleasure Beach Experience video. Now today I'm going to briefly talk about the big one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Originally today's upload plan was a little bit different than me talking to the camera. The plan was to do a 4-way split screen of all the on-ride videos we filmed on the big one last year. However, when I put those videos together I noticed there was a little bit of a problem with doing this. All 4 of the videos were filmed on a different day. And the big one was performing very differently on all 4 of those days. So my plan was now just get rid of it, don't do this. And then I thought actually, it's a good example to show that the big one performs very differently on different days. 3 out of 4 of the videos were filmed on clear blue sky days with very little wind, but the big one performed very differently on all of those days. In the past on this channel, I've spoken about how the big one has different wheel compounds for different weather conditions. So they have what is known as fast wheels, intermediates and slow wheels. Similar to Formula 1 really, how they have the different wheel compounds for different weather conditions. And the big one has always been the same. So on a really windy day, it will use what was known as the fast wheel compound. And on a day when there's no wind, it'll use what is known as the slow wheel compound, or maybe the intermediate. We've got one of the upstock wheels off the big one here, which is this like red, yellowy colour compound. So that was an upstock wheel. And then the heavy wheel, which is a running wheel, this is a very different colour. So this is an example of the 2 different wheel compounds, or 2 of the different wheel compounds that used to be used on the big one. Now I'm not sure which one's which. I mean, I don't know if that's a fast wheel, a slow wheel, an intermediate wheel. Right now it's a wheel in my hand that's been retired off the big one. So I don't know what it was when it was used other than it was an upstock wheel. But what I wanted to do is talk about that first, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on the 4-way split screen of the big one footage, and you will notice there's a very clear difference in which is the fastest and which is the slowest out of all 4 of them. Before we get to that, I just want to say that the audio for this video has been used off the big one POV in the top left corner of the screen. So yeah, there we have it. That was the big one split 4 ways, and I'm sure you will have noticed that in the bottom right corner, the nighttime POV was significantly faster than the other POVs. Now of course it's well known that the big one does get faster as the day goes on. However, it is an interesting one because that night was quite windy, and not only that as well, it did have the drag of passengers, whereas the other 3 trains that were in shot all of them were empty trains at the time. So it's an interesting one how the big one performs so differently, but it can depend on wind direction, wheel compound, it can depend on so many different variables, which is what makes the big one such a complicated ride. I remember on the Blackpool Pleasure Beach series in the 1990s, in the late 1990s, when Jim Rowland actually said that the big one was the most complicated piece of equipment that the park had got. Well, you can kind of see why when you watch a video like that and see that the ride performs so differently on a day-to-day basis, because 3 of those videos were all filmed within a couple of weeks of each other. Two of them in particular were filmed within a week, and one of them was filmed about a month after it. And then the nighttime POV was filmed like 2 months after the others. So it really does show that the big one is very inconsistent, but I think that's what makes it great in some kind of ways, because one day you can turn up and it can be an absolute beast and be amazing, and another day you'll turn up and be like, come on, it's going to roll back, it's going to roll back. So you never really know what you're going to get out of it. The initial plan of this video was quite simply to just show the POVs, but as soon as I put them together, and I just thought, I can't do this because it's just going to look like the timings are out so badly when you've got 4 different POVs all running at a different speed. And also it's worth noting as well that the GoPro was attached in different places on 2 of those POVs. The track level daytime and track level nighttime were both mounted in the exact same place, whereas the sideways and the backwards ones were mounted at completely different points of the train. So that's also a factor. But I think the clear difference is the daytime POV and the nighttime POV, and how different they are in terms of where they are, especially on that return leg. It's almost like the nighttime POV is a drop ahead of the daytime POV. And the daft thing about it is, on the POVs, I had them leave the lift hill at exactly the same time. So it really does show just how different the big one performs from day to day. Anyway, before I finish, I just want to say that in the daytime POV, it was filmed during block testing, so there is quite a bit of interesting stuff on a tech analysis point of view, with the ride stopping on a lift hill, the mid-course brake run, the brake runs at the end, and in different little places of how the brakes control the speeds during the block testing. If I could do a video about that at some point, just doing a bit of a tech analysis, I will do. It would be great if we could work in something with the Pleasure Beach to do that as a video in collaboration with the Pleasure Beach, or even with a former ride-up or an existing ride-up or someone from engineering. That's hopefully something we can do in the future. But for now, that's all from me today. Many thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next Pleasure Beach Experience video.